Ivory Gethers, who played here at Penn State from 1988 to 92, joins our players on parade here throughout this 2007 season. Ivory, delighted to have you with us, sir. How are you?
Glad to be back at State College.
And Ivory is, Kenny, he kind of runs you guys, right? The Letterman's Club, is that it?
Oh, yes. He has a big responsibility handling all the former players.
Yeah, the Letterman Club has grown over the years, and we've actually increased a lot of membership, and a lot of the players are getting more involved.
Yeah, explain what Letterman, you have to have lettered here or played here to be part of the whole thing? I mean, it's a special club, obviously, one very privileged, and I know you're very proud to be part of.
Yes, it is. Actually, it's good for the players to bridge the gap between the young players, current players, as well as the older players. So we want to give them a realistic viewpoint of what's going on in the real world.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And we don't see it as much maybe during the regular season as we do, I think, in the spring game around here when there's more of a mentoring that goes on, especially those kids who may have redshirted as freshmen and things, and you all come back and tell them, look, this is how we do things around here. So, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I want to ask you, Ivy, being that you're the president of the Letterman's Club, what all the things that are going on, I mean, and you have a pulse on what's happening with our former players and how they think what's happening. What do you think? They looking at the situation we have in our team and the direction we're going.
Yeah. Well, I just think basically a lot of the players have to make better decisions based on where they are in their life within college. Penn State is a special place, and I think they need to realize that, and that's why we have that connection with the Letterman Club.
Well, speaking of Letterman Club, one of the great traditions, we have it every week live. The buses are on the move here as the players are coming into the stadium. You can see them going right behind our set here. It's a very special type of thing. Describe for me, Ivory, your experience coming in here on those.
Well, I'm coming from a place called Johns Island, South Carolina, and I'll tell you what, this is one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen. So it was a delight for me.
What was it like on that bus? I mean, what did you feel like? I mean, how did you prepared yourself? I know you were taped, you were getting ready to come over, you were meeting your family. Tell us, how did it feel?
Well, when we came over on the bus, I mean, I don't have any hair right now, but I had hair in college, and all of the hair on your body stands up. I mean, there's fans from all over the world, and you really know why you're here when you're pulling up on the bus.
There's Anthony Morelli a week ago, criticized, withstood it, I thought, with a great deal of poise. This week, nobody's calling about Anthony Morelli. It's the players. You guys, the Letterman, are saying, hey, easy, right, Kenny? And here's the coach. He's more, in a way, he's a brilliant guy because he put all the onus on himself. Have you noticed? During the talk about players, it's all about him this week. It's by design.
We had to find out what happened on Bigelow Road. Joe's a bigger story than his players.
And he made himself that way.
Exactly.
To deflect the attention away from the players.
That's what you got to do as a head coach. You know that.
Here they come. I mean, is there anything? You're coming in that locker room, Ivory, and this is a big game today, as you well know. You didn't come up here to talk to us. You came here to see them beat the Badgers, right?
Hey, we owe them one, and I came to see a great game, so it's going to be physical today.
Well, they remember these guys coming in here that were on that field last year. Wisconsin dominated 13-3. There's Anthony Scarrato with number 7 there. They'll test him today, especially with that tight end with Beckham.
Best thing about us, though, we have pretty good tight ends, so they have guys that they've played against that's solid. So I think our defensive handling, but we just got to hold on to the ball, Jay.
Ivory, we always like to ask the guys kind of, where you're from South Carolina. Ray Roundtree, I was talking to you off air, kind of started that pipeline. Courtney Brown, I think Bobby Ingram, South Carolina guy. Rock Hill, South Carolina. Who was the guy that who plugged this place into South? It's not easy going down there now.
Hey, Bill Kenny was the guy. Bill Kenny, that's when South Carolina was down. The football program was a little slipping there. We went in there. It's a little tough now when you got the old ball coach down there to pull them out.
And also Clemson, too, with one of the bouts. Actually, South Carolina had a tragic thing happen. They lost their coach, Joe Morrison, and he had died of a heart attack. And the program just spent forever trying to get back on track. And I think you're right about that. But for Penn State, did you know of Penn State and Coach Paterno being at South Carolina?
Actually, I did.
Did you? Okay.
I did. I got recruited from all schools, and I saw a Penn State versus Alabama game at about 10 years old, and I said, Mom, that's an ugly team, but they look pretty tough, and that's what I want to do.
Well, what's based on you must have been a good student. I mean, I know being a president, tell us a little bit about that experience and what you are doing now after football.
Well, it was a transition coming up here, and originally I wanted to do architecture. And with the studios conflicting with practices, I decided to go into something that's not that demanding during the week, so I chose landscape contracting. And from then, pharmaceutical industry. I have my MBA from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, so I'm a partial Illini. Very small.
I'm glad we didn't have you on a couple weeks ago.
That would have been conflicting a little bit. What do you think of it? You know, the Penn State quarterbacks around here are always under scrutiny. You played with Tony Sack, who unfortunately for him, you ran out of guys, and they had to take the red shirt off of him in the Rutgers game, and I think that really made it tough for him as far as that goes. It's tough being a fresh, but what about being the quarterback here at Penn State? Morelli has had his highs and lows with the fans, and you know the good ones are sticking by this kid. He's got a lot of talent.
Well, I think Morelli will come around and he'll do a great job. The leadership role as a quarterback is very important, and they're the chief of the offense. So it's up to him to pretty much gather himself, get himself together, and do a good job in the game. That's his job, to be the quarterback.
And also, you better be tough-skinned to play quarterback around these parts.
You have to be. I think Anthony understands. It's like that everywhere now, Jed. It's so much media attention. And if you play well, you're going to get things that you never could imagine. And I think Anthony understands it's nothing personal. I think what you have to do here is calm down. He has a great defense. All we asking, you got great receivers. Do what he can do. You don't have to score every time. A throwaway sometimes is the best thing to do. But protect the ball when you're in the pocket. I think sometimes you get a little careless when you move around a little bit and he doesn't protect that ball. If he does that and uses his feet every now and then, he will do a fine job.
However, also sometimes, you know, the tailbacks, this is not the prototypical number one guy here at Penn State, but it's Rodney Kinlaw's now. He's going to share time, but kind of explain that. Here's a guy that is great in space a little bit. Now that he knows he's the guy, you kind of jump it up a little bit, you know, when you wait your turn.
Well, from what I've seen thus far, he has a lot of speed. He makes pretty good decisions, and as long as he can hold on to the ball, he's going to do a great job.
There's no doubt about that. So describe motivational speaking, which is, it sounds easier than it really is, but tell us how you got into that a little bit.
Well, being involved with the Penn State Letterman Club, you know, I have a passion for developing younger student athletes. And as I stated earlier, I think it's very important that they get a taste of what's out there in the real world. So I formed a company called SAM Communications. And SAM stands for Sarah, Aaron, and Mariah. Those are the names of my children. And through that, I have workshops for high school football players. And it's not a workshop where you're going to come and run the 40-yard dash or see how strong you are. It's a workshop to help them develop as to making the right decisions when you're posed with a situation.
Well, it's been our pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much, President of the Letterman Club. I'm sure that's a damn if you do, damn if you don't proposition sometime, knowing all the guys like
if I don't
did.
get my tickets, I know where I'm going.
He goes right to there. So yeah, I'm sure you'll be a hot guy in 2 weeks when the Buckeyes are in town. If things hold up and they come in here number 2 or 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.